Welcome to Salcedo Paranormal, and in today's episode, I will be talking about the Waverly Hills Sanatorium, and this is episode 401 of the show. I'm going to be announcing that from now on, just so everyone knows where we're at with episode numbers. Thank you all for listening, whether you are here for the live streams, or you listen to the podcast or YouTube feeds, or if you listen to the show, replays of the show, on the Troubled Minds radio network, KUAP Digital Broadcasting. You can hear 2 episodes of the show, replays, every night at 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern, in the hour leading up to Troubled Minds Radio, the show itself. So I'd like to thank everyone for listening. Like I said, if you'd like to support the show, there are a few different ways to do that. You can rate and review it on your podcast platform of choice. You can also share the show with others. Also, if you are into paranormal fiction or nonfiction books, you can find some of those that I've written over on Amazon. And then, of course, the last way you can help if you are able and you would like, if you enjoy the show, is to make a direct donation to the show through the PayPal and or Venmo donation links. And those can be found in the description of every episode, as well as in the Discord. Or if you can't find them, let me know, and I will send them to you directly. Always happy to hear from you all, whether you have comments or questions or topic suggestions, or stories of paranormal experiences, whether they're your own or from others that you trust. Happy to either read those or have you join me on the show to talk about them. And I'm just going to be back here after a couple of days off. The plan is tonight to cover this topic, and depending on how long it takes, I might be recording 2 episodes in one night. So for all of you who are here for the live stream, you're welcome to stay until I close the event channel. So thank you all for being here. So this is part of my sort of informal series. I'm not really labeling it, but just on places that are fairly well known and said to be haunted. I first found out about this place, the Waverly Hills Sanatorium, over in Kentucky. I first found out about it through the early years of paranormal reality shows on TV. This was back in the 2000s, I believe, either mid to late 2000s. And I was watching a lot more TV back then. My eyes weren't bothering me quite as much yet at that point. So I was watching a lot of those shows whenever I could. And I wasn't really aware yet of the way that these paranormal reality shows could be influenced by the production companies and or the stations themselves in terms of exaggerating or in some cases faking paranormal activity. So I hadn't really heard about that at the time yet. It took a few years to get to that point. Actually, many years, a good 5 or more. But and so I saw a couple of different shows visit this location, and then since then, between those shows and just other podcasts I've listened to, the one thing I can say is every time I hear this place mentioned, it's from someone that has had an experience there, a paranormal experience there. And so that to me says that it's not just all being made up for the TV shows. There seems like there is something going on there. And so that's why I wanted to look into this place. We're not going to really cover a ton of the the history, because it was a hospital, really. And it was established in the early 1900s as just a regular, I believe, a regular hospital. But then around that time is when tuberculosis really became an issue, especially in that area, and so that's when construction started on the 5-story stone structure that you can see now. Originally, it was just a 2-story wooden structure, and but then so it only held, I think, less than 100 people. Of course, by the time everything got to be really bad, and a lot of people in the area and throughout, I think, the parts of the country started to come down with this disease. They needed a lot more room. Is basically why the place was the structure you see today was made, and also there was a lot of unknowns as to how to treat this illness. So and it stayed in operation until 1961, I believe, around there. When around that time there was medicine that was discovered and created that pretty much took care of that particular disease, that illness, so that the more and more people were able to, the ones that were there anyway, that hadn't passed, were able to get the medicine and then go home. So, yeah, I'm just looking at a couple articles here. I put 5 different articles in the show notes. Let me check on the name of that channel again in the Discord. That would be show notes and sources. Discord channel. You can find all the links that I found to do this show in there. And so the first article I want to talk about here is from the it says courier-journal.com. And this title of this article says, "What's so scary about Waverly Hills Sanatorium? Get to know a haunted Louisville property." I always get that mixed up there. But so yeah, this is articles about this. Apparently, this is in the southwest part of Jefferson County, and so let me see here. There was some a bit of a legal case regarding who should run the place 2 years ago. I haven't found anything out about that as of this year. But so let's see. So yeah, construction on the site, it says, started in 1908 and opened in 1910, according to the Waverly Hills website. It says, and it was mainly an isolated medical center for patients afflicted with tuberculosis, and so this is right around the time when this started to spread through the area. In 1926, that's when the 5-story stone structure was made, and it was designed to hold more than 400 patients at once. So this location was built as a self-sufficient community, and it had its own zip code, post office, farmland. I believe I've heard of just basically, like I said, self-sufficient. Had most of its buildings that would need to get by. Even the doctors and other employees, once they joined or once they signed up to work there, they were unable to leave for a while. So it stayed. This facility stayed open until the early 1960s. I believe I saw 1961 somewhere. Okay, so it was closed and renovated in 1961. Let me see here. And it opened a year later as a nursing home. Um, and it stayed open as a nursing home until 1981, until it closed again. And so it stayed closed at around 20 years at that time, starting in early 80s. And that's when, of course, the structure fell into disrepair because there was no one there to take care of it. And so new owners bought the place in 2001. That would be the Mattingleys. And they also founded the Waverly Hills Historical Society a couple of years later. So the now over these many years, people start reporting, especially people that basically went there, even when it was shut down. People claim to have experiences there with the paranormal. Between in those years when it was basically abandoned, and even after. So let me see here. It says that this article here. So yeah, it got the it started with as far as popular culture, it was featured in a episode of Fox Family's Scariest Places on Earth. I remember that show, that series actually. I used to watch that whenever I could. So, but even without that, there are reports of people who went there who had experiences with what they thought must be the people who had passed away there of tuberculosis. Of course, because of the large number of people that were staying there, the patients, and the various experiments that were tried, that were performed to try to cure the illness. You can imagine that it was not, the conditions there were not the best. And so it says here that 6,000 people were believed to have passed away there. And so all this combined is what led to the reports of the place being haunted. So, looking at the rest of this article here, there have been orbs and lights that have been witnessed in this underground tunnel, which was used to transfer their deceased patients out of the facility. And I've seen different shows cover that area, and I've heard sounds and different things that maybe, it seems like you might be able to hear those shadow figures. I've heard of that as well. So that area is one of the most common areas for reality shows, paranormal reality shows, to set up investigators there to have experiences. There's also a room on the top floor, 502, where the ghost of a nurse is reported to be seen. So I'm going to switch to this other article here. This is from bestattractions.org. This gets a little bit more into the it has a little bit about the history of the place, but it gets a little more into the paranormal reports there. So it mentions that over the years, countless stories and first-hand accounts have come out to the media. Let me see here. Okay, so one of the most famous stories involves that room that I mentioned, that 502, where a nurse is seen. The tunnel, again, is another hot spot. And people that have visited there have reported hearing unexplained noises, feeling sudden cold spots, and even seeing apparitions. And I've heard of that before as well. So there's also reportedly a ghost of a boy named Timmy who likes to basically or play with a toy ball. So people would bring one, or there'd be one there, and people would see it move on its own. Let's see here. Says that some people have even claimed to capture pictures of this apparition or this boy. So, and it mentions here these are just a few of the stories associated with the place. I've heard of, again, shadow figures, even shadow figures that were said to uh, basically move along the walls and even the ceiling, which is really amazing. That's either a spirit that has learned that there basically aren't as many limitations, or if it's a human, or if it's something else, then it could be some other being that was drawn there by all the energy. I always wonder about that with these places, especially when they've been abandoned for so long. If what people are experiencing, if it's not more than just the people that were said to be, the spirits of the people that were said to haunt the place, to be staying in the place still. So, yeah, it's really, like I said, I've heard of the place and I've seen it, and you can find, if you just look up Waverly Hill Sanatorium online, I'm sure you can find countless clips on the place. And so let me see here. We can find some of the other articles here and maybe look into those. Again, just the history of the place is sad, and the number of people that passed away there. And but let me get to some of these other articles here. And they have their own website where you can find out how to visit the location. And let's see here. I haven't looked into this article yet. Let's see what. So one of the channels that has featured the location in a lot of their shows is the Travel Channel. Let's see what they have to say about that. So this title of this article says "Inside the Haunted Halls of Waverly Hill Sanatorium," and so let me see here. It says that the place has been closed for many years as far as patients go. It's not a hospital anymore. A lot of these articles have a lot of pictures as well. It says that from 1910 to 1962, it was it housed thousands of tuberculosis patients, and it was so large that it had its own zip code, post office, and water treatment facility. So let me see here. Mentions that it repeats the same thing over here. All right, there we go. So it says that in the early 1900s, hospitals in Kentucky were at a breaking point because of this disease, and this was in large part because of the way the warm and wet weather helped to spread the disease as well. And tuberculosis, which is an airborne bacterial disease. So let's see here. It says that the sanatorium went from a 2-story wooden structure to a sprawling 5-story facility. And so yeah, it says that it opened in the middle of this whole epidemic. And let me see here. So it mentions, of course, the Travel Channel's own shows and everything that went to check the place out. and shows pictures of some of the rooms and everything, and let me see here. So there's mentions that this place, this sanatorium, always on the world's paranormal lists, basically most haunted lists worldwide, and so let's see here. Looking at the rest of this article here, so it mentions how it was abandoned for many years, and that's when a lot of people would go there, even though technically it wasn't really, no one was supposed to be there, and to check it out. And that's when stories started to pop up in the area of shadow figures and ghostly children. So, of course, they mentioned that this cemented its sinister reputation, which, of course, paranormal and paranormal reality shows always has to focus on the fear. And mentions in 2001, the Mattingleys bought the location. And so yeah, a lot of it mentions that the place has attracted the attention of professional paranormal investigators from across the country. And so let's see here. It mentions a couple of different shows that have been there, just from this network alone. But if you look into other shows like the original Ghost Hunters, I know did some shows there. Mentions this article mentions Destination Fear and then Ghost Adventures. So I'm sure and that's just a major network shows. So again, if you look up this place, you'll find, I'm sure, a lot of videos on it. And that's basically all I have for that. So I think that's where we'll end that discussion for today. Other places I want to talk about, sort of in this series, will be, of course, the Queen Mary, because I've brought up a few stories from people who had experiences there on different episodes of the show before. I also definitely want to look into the Amityville house and that whole series of events. I probably will do a show, because I don't know if I'll just feature places. It may be particular cases and or people in the paranormal that are fairly well known. So that means I'll probably do a show at some point devoted entirely to the Warrens, Ed and Lorraine Warren. Yeah, that's really all I have as far as places that I really want to. Well, that's that as of right now. I'm already thinking though. I should probably do a show on the Stanley Hotel over in, I believe it was Colorado. There's a lot of places. I mean, I'm sure if you all have any suggestions, you're all welcome to let me know, and I'll look into them. And we'll go from there. But I think that's going to do it for today. I went through this a little bit faster than I expected. But again, I didn't really want to focus too much on the sort of the dark, the sadder, more tragic part of the history of Waverly. I wanted to focus more on the paranormal, just because there's been a lot of content that has documented the history of the location, and it's very brutal in a way. So thank you all for listening, and I'll be back with the next episode of Salcedo Paranormal. Take care.